Well, another little local difficulty for the coalition because the Prime Minister has been forced to deny there's been any change to the government's renewables policy after his new energy minister claimed the country had had enough of wind farms. John Hayes was quickly slapped down by the Lib Dem Energy Secretary, Ed Davey. But as our science editor, Tom Clark, reports, this hasn't been quite enough to reassure the industry.
This morning's papers left us in little doubt. Conservative Energy Minister John Hayes making it clear wind farms are about to whirl their last. Only it's not true, according to his Lib Dem boss, Ed Davey. Mr Davey, good evening.
Good evening.
Can I trouble you just 1 second? Are you still in charge at DEC?
Absolutely. The policy on onshore wind remains the same. The Prime Minister has confirmed that our renewables policy remains the same and is being extremely successful. Onshore wind is a very important part of our renewable mix. It's the...
Can we do without it? Like the Energy Minister suggested we could actually make do without it. Is that the case?
I think it's a critical part of our energy policy to make sure we can get renewables, we can have clean energy.
Earlier in the day, the leader of the opposition was quick on the scent of another high-profile coalition bust-up.
His energy minister says he's against wind farms and enough is enough, while his energy secretary says he's gung-ho for them. Who speaks for the government, the energy secretary or the energy minister?
There has been no change towards renewable energy. Let me explain exactly. We've got a big pipeline of onshore and offshore wind projects that are coming through. We're committed to those. But frankly, all parties are going to have a debate in this House and outside this House about what happens once those targets are met.
In recent weeks, there's been chaos in the coalition over energy. David Cameron promised a single cheap tariff for all without consulting his energy department. George Osborne publicly disagreed with Ed Davey over a green carbon target for our energy sector. And now there's wind. Listen very carefully and you can almost hear the political infighting going on inside the Department for Energy and Climate Change. Now, you'd be forgiven for thinking it's just a storm in a coalition teacup, but you'd be wrong, because right now this department is overseeing some very expensive, very long-term decisions about energy. Ones that we, the energy customer, are going to be paying for decades to come. In just a few weeks, the government publishes a long-awaited energy bill. It's designed to encourage big investors to build new nuclear, wind and gas-fired power stations in the UK. But bust-ups like today's risk discouraging investors, like Denmark's Dong Energy, that build big offshore wind farms.
Well, clearly it's unhelpful when we get mixed messages in the policy arena, and it's our intention to engage with DEC and with policymakers to make sure that we get the clarity that we need for the offshore wind industry so that we can move ahead. We're talking about billions of investment, we're talking about thousands of jobs, and it's important that we can press ahead with this project and bring energy security and low carbon energy at that into the mix.
What businesses are telling us is that they need policy confidence. They need to know where the government stands. And when you've got the Prime Minister and the Chancellor, the Secretary of State and the Minister all saying potentially different things, then that's deeply concerning.
The whole point of Ed Davey's energy policy overhaul is to get a better deal for customers and the environment. But political infighting could mean we get exactly the opposite.